Dr. T. Sasiprabha, you heard your colleagues. One, we would like to know from you, what are you doing within your university to kind of take the advantage of the new NEP's direction, because it is a directional guide right now. It's a vision document. It's a policy, but it's simply. Second is, how do you see the future? Where do you see your university in that future?
The right time the NEP has come, the right time this pandemic has come. So almost all of our faculty members are trained and equipped to handle the classes in online. They know how to teach courses in online. Even in computer science engineering, that is one of the major department in our university, and which has got a team of faculty members to conduct the practicals also in online. So most of our courses towards computer science engineering and circuit branches we could able to conduct in online. So like that training we could able to acquire during this pandemic period. And we have started a Center for Professional Career Advancement recently. So after this announcement of Prime Minister's e-Vidya scheme, so we started the center to reskill and upskill the graduates who are already employed in some industries, or who after graduations who are still going to get employed. So just to skill them. So we have started this center. Through this, we are offering the online courses. These online courses, right now, we started certification courses, a 6-month certification program on artificial intelligence, and then 1-year PG diploma program on full stack development. So these programs we have started in jointly with the industries. Online AI programs, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics, so all aligned with the AI we started. And these two programs right now we launched, but we have not started any degree programs as such. We thought of starting some arts program or other education kind of programs, that is in discussion. So I think slowly maybe by next 1 year we plan to start some programs also, some degree programs, not an engineering medicine, other programs we thought of launching in online. So maybe this Coursera and other platforms will be supportive to us when we are going to launch these programs, degree programs in online. And moreover, towards the digitalization is concerned, and this NEP is also focusing on extensive use of technology in education. Now we know right from a school child, so and a school teacher, so everybody are able to use this platform. I don't say that we have to go completely in online, because so online education has got lot of limitations, as already Samatha ma'am has told. It has got some limitations. It will not give empathy to the students. So we plan to go with the blended mode. So wherever it's possible to have online educations, only those places we plan to go with online. And wherever the hardcore engineering or medical laboratories where the students needs to have a hands-on experience, there we plan to have a regular face-to-face kind of teaching. So this is the thing right now we plan to pursue in the subsequent semester. So now we have already started classes for second year, third year and final year students in online. So we do not know how long this situation is going to prolong. So based on that, the laboratory sessions which needs hands-on sessions we have to conduct later. So the things right now we are trying to manage. And this NEP, I am very sure that since it is very flexible, it will surely lead us to improve our global innovation index. So as per 2017 global innovation index is concerned, we are positioned in 57th rank. India is concerned, and now this year in 2019 is concerned, we have just moved 5 positions ahead, and we are in 52 position. I think 2020 innovation index they are going to release in September 2nd. So we'll be knowing the impact of this. So all because of our AICTs, I'm really appreciating the efforts put forth by AICTE to all the engineering institutions. Right from the pandemic starting date, that is from March middle onwards, immediately they have launched a lot of online programs for the students, for the faculties, and they are trying to innovate, do a lot of innovative components into the teaching learning pedagogies, as well as they are giving a platform for the engineering students to innovate lot of innovative
Understood.
new products for the society. So now recently the National Innovation Startup Policy was released by the Institution Innovation Council of AICT and MHRD together the initiative. So they have given this and they are they are giving the training to the coordinators of all the institutions. I hope this type of culture will surely bring us to do lot of innovations and from the higher education institutions level, because now only we that before 5 years we are actually the academicians expected to do publications, and then it has slowly increased to we have to have more number of publications with impact factor. Then we should have citations, only then the publication will be respected. So like that, next, so R&D projects. So now really all academicians along with the students are expected to produce products. So that's why this ARIA ranking was also introduced. So I'm very happy that Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology has positioned the 5th rank among all the private institutions in the country in the innovation is concerned, because right now we have been granted with 80 patents, and we have again filed 200 more patents. Out of that, so 24 patents are got published and remaining are in the initial stage. So like that, all this ecosystem has made us to go in the digitized way and to in the process of bringing out the innovative products for the societal applications. And this UPA, I wanted to really thank MHRD for having this initiative, this Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. Through this UPA, every institution is asked to adopt the villages. Now the students are going and doing the survey in the villages. They are finding out the real need of the village, and they are able to find out some solutions for their requirements. In almost all engineering, not only in engineering, even management students are going, even dental students are going. Like
Sure.
that, this kind of exposure.
We understand what you do.
Yeah, with the authorities concerned, academic institutions, higher education institutions getting the opportunity to interact with the villages with the approval of the collector of the respective district. We're able to interact, we're able to implement a lot of things to the society.
Sure.
So this kind of ecosystem already.
It's 5:15, so I have to do a wrap up and also get closing comments and
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So
Okay, thank you.
Raghav, let me ask you.
Yes,
For at least 10 years we've been talking about learning outcomes. The word we use is learning outcomes, and the other thing we look at in terms of employability is the placements, is the kind of placements, what streams, what CTCs, what all. Now, let's take Coursera as an example. You shared the numbers that you had and the impact. You said even the usage went up, right? You said that the usage of the courses went up. More sessions, right? Raghav,
yes.
You said that. Raghav, you said
That's
more
right.
sessions. Now, tell us, if we were to talk about the last 5 months, and let's say this infusion of technology, whether your platforms or other platforms, happens, how will we measure outcomes? And what is your assessment of how outcomes will get impacted?
So the way we think about it at Coursera is that any piece of education content that is, produced at Coursera by our partners always has two objectives, Anurag. It has a learning outcome and it has a career outcome. And what we've done is we've made it possible for any individual who's learning on our platform to measure what skill development happened when they took any particular piece of content that they took. So let's say I'm a business manager, data is becoming increasingly important for me as an individual. And if I want to come and learn the basics of data science, I can come and take 2-3 courses and say on a scale of 1 to 100, my knowledge of data science was 10 and now it has become 30. And if I wanted to take to 60, then I can also take a series of content pieces to take it there. So to my mind, and like has been said very rightly through today's conversation, learning outcomes are possibly going to be a combination of certain courses, certain knowledge that you learn online, and certain elements that you learn in an in-person environment. And if we can enable a combination of high quality knowledge building, high quality skill development, and eventually career impact, I think those together can come up and become learning outcomes.
Okay, at this point, let me start with Pratham. Pratham, your closing comments on if we were to do this discussion in 6 months, 12 months, NEP would have progressed. Hopefully, COVID would have gone. The digital transformation of education and educational institutions will continue. What is your prediction? If we talk to you in 6-12 months, what do you think we will have achieved as an education ecosystem? I'm not just talking of LP. Pratham Mittal, I think Pratham isn't there, but Krish, where would be in 6 to 12 months? Though we should talk about decades, but I'd rather talk about, I believe that change is happening at a faster pace than we can imagine. And we have to look at the year at least in 2 portions, if not 4, change every quarter. But I can say every 6 months, there is a huge leap we make. So where would we be in 6 months?
Absolutely. Anurag, in fact, I can relate this to my own personal experience. I've been in this position of Chief Innovation Officer, not a very common title you find in universities, but this position was created exactly a year ago, last September. And since coming in, my only mandate was bring innovation, bring change, help with transformation. And I'd been working very hard. It's not easy to change the mindset of academy. I'm sorry, apologies to all the academic leaders on the panel.
Krish, that's true for any sector.
In every sector.
That's true for any sector. We all are set in our ways how we work. So academicians are also normal people.
We talked about several initiatives, and we keep talking about several initiatives. And there comes COVID. And that's probably, on a lighter note, the best CTO that universities have ever seen in terms of bringing about change. And suddenly, overnight, you had to jump in and innovate, find ways to complete syllabi and get degrees awarded to students. Our own university, on the day after the lockdown, we were on Zoom doing classes, and we found an online tool, 100% proctored online exam we conducted in June and awarded degrees in June. So our students, graduating students, could get out and join their jobs. And we have partnered obviously with Coursera. We've signed a multi-year deal, brought in Coursera and given licenses to every single student, every single faculty, all free of cost to them. And we have mapped a number of our courses to Coursera, numbering over 200 in the past 3 months, and more are coming. And we have found them to be a very, very attractive partner in this time of crisis. We have gotten Zoom licenses. We have subscribed to 1,500 Zoom licenses. We have put a license in every single faculty's hand. We have created the Office of Digital Learning, brought in an industry expert to man that operation. We have defined a blended learning blueprint, and then we are working on that. We have, fortunately for us, much before COVID, we Center of Excellence on Extended Reality. We are researching, adopting VR and AR to bring to the classroom to enhance the learning experience, especially when it comes to labs, because some of the labs you cannot replicate, you cannot give a same experience online. So a number of things that we've already started doing, but to your specific question, looking back, from 6 months from now, a year from now, as Raghav pointed out, I think that's when you realize how much change has taken place in a matter of months that could not have been possible, was not possible for decades.
That's what he said.
For decades.
Thank you so much, Krish.
I think this change is constant. This is going to, this one thing we tell our faculty, it's not because of COVID that we are turning to online. The online is going to stay. Blended learning is going to stay. That's going to be the new normal for every single course that you teach. So with that, I'm very optimistic, looking to education policy 2020. I think a number of changes at our own university we have already implemented, and the 2020 education policy only validates our thinking, and we look forward to it with a lot of optimism. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Samuel, your closing comments?
Yeah, all of us know that NAP 2020 is an excellent document. We have no second opinion on that. But as you said rightly, everything depends on the implementation. And yes, now the teams have started drafting the implementation strategy, and the number of stakeholders involved are many, and so it's going to take time. That's number one. Number two, the challenges are pretty heavy here in Indian context, you must understand. See, the input to higher education is dependent on the school education. And otherwise, the school education is revamped. And if the correct input comes to the higher education, we are not going to make any mark. And that is one big challenge. Number two, the biggest challenge is, bigger than what I said earlier, is the connectivity issue. It's still there. And even, our own students find it difficult. People who are in, Northeast and in Kashmir, and even in small villages and all that, connectivity is a big issue. And for many other colleges, I would say that even availability of the gadgets to the students is a big issue. And fund allocation. See, yes, we have been talking about 6% of GDP. It's fine. It's nice to hear. But you must understand that we have been talking about the same 6% GDP for education right from 1962 onwards. The figures have not changed, but we are not able to reach it at all. So I think there should be a mechanism to sit and find out what has gone wrong. Why is that we are not able to meet out all those challenges in the past? And unless that is done, it will be very difficult. And I don't see that is happening, and that's very, very important. And dismantling affiliation and making everybody independent is a Herculean task. And in India, it's going to be a bigger headache. And so, like that, I can go on and on. So what I'm just saying is that it's an excellent document. Implementation is the key, and challenges are pretty high. So only thing I can foresee is that in the next 6 months, we'll be moving in the right direction. And whether we'll be able to conclude anything in the next 6 months or not, it's something we have to wait and see. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Samanta, your closing comments. And Raghav, the more I've read it twice, every time we do a webinar around, this is our fourth around NEP, each of the issues and topics in NEP merit a separate singular discussion. Today is about employability and how digital will enhance employability. But unless until all the other facets combine, digital will not be able to enhance employability. So they're kind of intertwined, and each one, but so however narrow you make it, it's all interconnected. Dr. Samanta, your closing comments.
And no doubt, National Education Policy is an excellent document, and we in academic sector, perhaps today, each one of the stakeholder of the society, each one of the stakeholder in the academics, they are given opportunity to contribute to this for this document. I think perhaps this was the first document in this country which was in public domain for, I think, couple of months, for the input from the public, input from the academicians, and all educational institutions were invited to give input for that. So only for that, I think, when this document has come, there are lots of enthusiasm among all the academicians to discuss about this and to get a way and means how to execute this. That motivation in place, I see that there are lots of emphasis in this new education policy for integrated and multidisciplinary education. And I think in our country, when so much of compartmentalization is there in education sector, even if we take the premier institutions of this country, there are IITs for technology, we understand that, IIMs for management, and like that the NLUs for law education. So when lots of compartmentalization is there, how those academic institutions can be multidisciplinary? And apart from that, if we come to the small institution where those students will get the scope for integrated multidisciplinary learning and research. So that will always be there as a major challenge for the management, for the policymakers, for the institutions and the students. With that, I think that only this education policy, but because of its flexibility and autonomy, lots of changes will be there among the coming generation students or the youth, that from since very beginning they will be groomed in an environment of autonomy. They will be taking, till now we are running with the prescription of syllabus, prescription of the examination pattern, and when this autonomy will be given, I think that since very beginning they will be groomed. that how decision can be taken. They'll be selecting their own courses, they'll be selecting their own examination pattern,
Understood.
they'll be selecting their own institution.
Understood.
So I think that will give them the perspective to take the decision in their life and to believe in their own decision. Maybe it will create a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in future, in new generations.
Thank you so much. Dr. T. Sasi Prabha, your closing comments.
So this new education policy is going to establish more tie-ups with the industries. I would say.
So you're collaborative.
The
universities will have to be collaborative
between the industries and this, because now it is very difficult to pull the industries to the academic and to get the expertise from the academic side. So that will be made easy through this policy, because we are going to launch a lot of programs, skill-based programs based on the need and requirements from the industry. So that's the one way. And another, my point is that almost all the developed countries have made use of the same policy they practiced in past few decades. So those developed countries, maybe this is one of the reasons they are in the developed countries. I hope in India also, if they practice this NEP 2020, so we will also become the developed nation in the short period of time. That's my comment.
You're saying
so this NEP is going to provide a safe,
we always say the education can create leaders, and if we need to make a change, we should make it at the education level. I think NEP is trying to do that.
It was already witnessed by a lot of other developed countries in the past few decades. Surely, this for us also with a huge population, this will also take some time, and we will also become the developed nation in the world in a short period of time. And this NEP 2020 is going to give a safe and stimulating learning environment, I hope. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Raghav Gupta, your final comments.
I think the good thing about forecasting anything for the future is you can be quite confident that you will be wrong, but I will attempt two specific things that I think might happen in the next 6 months. I think we will see a lot of possibly 10, 20, 30% embedment of technology and online education with universities. And I think we will see many universities open up positions which will be called chief digital officers, or they will take inspiration from Creation Open chief innovation officer type positions in universities, which not many universities do today. And I think the second thing that we will see is we will see the best of the world coming to Indian students. And we will see also the best of India going to learners around the world. So what I mentioned with, what the work that we're doing with IIT Roorkee, IIM Calcutta, possibly, with Professor Rai's institution as well. So I think we will see the best of India going to the rest of the world as well. And I think we will see that in the next 6 months.
Thank you so much, Raghav, for being specific and short. We started with you, Professor Himanshu Rai. We end with you. Your final comments on where do you see. I remember you said to me about collaborative. You have an engineering institution in Indore. You said, I am Indore, and if I'm not wrong, IIT Indore have collaborated on a course, right? You mentioned that in a session with us before. So you're clearly walking the talk, so to say. You're clearly implementing what you're saying. So your final word.
Absolutely, Anurag. So first of all, my prediction in the next 6 months, I'll see my students back in the classroom and in the campus. And I sincerely hope that on this one, I'm absolutely right, because I'm sure that students are missing the campus.
100%.
The second thing is that I see in the next 6 months, all of us are going to be more humble and more sensitive. Humble, why? Because this pandemic has taught us that we hardly know anything at all. Humble also because it has taught us that we might think that we can change very, very quickly, but changing the mindset is going to be an extremely difficult thing. And it's not just for the faculty, but even for the students. So I had mentioned in one of the talks that the percentage of faculty who were okay with the technology change and taking online classes is more than the percentage of students who are okay with it. One would have intuitively thought otherwise, that students would be far more open. And that's bring me to my third point, which is sensitivity, because we assume that if we have a good digital system in our institution, it is going to be successful. No, not at all. We have to look at the digital system available and the bandwidth available with the participants. And till such time that we have students living in far-flung areas with some areas still with 2G and not even with 3G, let alone 4G and 5G, we can never impart online education with the efficiency or with the efficacy that it has the potential to. And therefore, I think we need to be sensitive, not just about ourselves, but also about the participants. And finally, as I said, and as you mentioned, Anurag, it is going to be collaboration. So I was very surprised when I came over here and I realized that Indore is the only city which has both an IIM and IIT, but we are not doing anything together. I think there's going to be a lot more collaboration between the institutions within the country. So as you pointed out, IIT Indore and IIM Indore are not only launching joint courses, we are going to launch joint programs. And we are also giving suggestions to each other as to what can we do better. So for example, IIT Indore has nominated me to its Senate, and I sit for all their Senate meetings. And therefore, we exchange the best practices. We will launch new programs. A lot of them would be programs that marry technology to management in both synchronous as well as asynchronous modes. But overall, I think one of the things that we will also see in the 6 months' time is that we will understand that we are nothing in front of nature. And if we want to have a good Earth, if we want to live in a good planet, we will also need to bring in higher education, under the ambit of higher education, courses, which also tell us as to how can we create responsible leaders and not necessarily only good leaders.
Thank you so much. I think I learned so much today. It made me think, but thank you for contributing. The only 3 things I'd say to sum up is that we got to keep the good things of the past, which is the life skills you learn on a campus, you learn by being amongst faculty, teachers, being in the hostel, but you got to add layers of technology. Second is in terms of NEP, the industry academia interface will need to be enhanced multiple times than what it is, both in terms of trainers, teachers who have industry background, who become adjunct faculty or contribute in a way that they do specialized courses that are offered for the first time. Third, investments in digital, whether it's courses in digital, whether it's a collaborative nature with other digital players, will go up, because what has been developed by digital players over the last many years may be valuable from a industry standpoint, and it will enhance the students with top-up skills, provided the institute is giving them the base skills, the top-up skills, so it makes them more employment. And last but I say, I still believe in next 5 years, there will be a university on the cloud. Learning cycles are becoming shorter. I think we all will have to pick up one new skill every year, if not every 6 months, next 3 months. So Raghav, for companies like you, it is a very bright future. And I'm sure everyone on this panel who are leaders of their institutions will be able to reinvent themselves and hence reinvent the institutions they lead. Thank you for being great guests, and I thank you for being part of this Transformative Thursday BW Education seminar, and I look forward to doing more engagements with you. This will also go in the BW Education magazine and the BW Education website, so the content will be available for reference and for a larger audience. Thank you. God bless you. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.